It actually began in Edinburgh because the growth of Edinburgh between 1700 and 1800 saw an increase in population of about 38,000 up to over 138,000. There was also a huge increase in demand for coal, from about 200,000 in 1800 to about 350,000 tonnes a year. Most of that demand came from the growth of the new town, the demand for heating, the demand for some industry like brewing. That demand could not be met by the original sources. The original sources came in from Fife, and when the Union Canal was opened, came in through from Lanarkshire or even near Falkirk. But that couldn't supply the demand. The landowners out here knew they had coal and they had plenty of it. The problem they had was taking it in by cart was very expensive, and increasingly people had the idea of tramways. These were like railways, but they were pulled by horses. The trucks were pulled by horses. So the landowners in the area, 10 of them, got together and spent the equivalent nowadays of millions of pounds building a tramway from Edinburgh, St Leonards, out into Midlothian, so the pits then could supply the homes and factories of Edinburgh. The Innocent Railways, it was called, or the Edinburgh and Dalkeith Railway, actually came out here for coal, but in fact it was ideal for the North British Railway because it came out the same line. They were willing to use this, but their main idea was to get to Carlisle via Hoyk and down south. But this line suited them ideally, so when they came to build their railway to go south, this is the line they took, and they bought it for £113,000. The first change you would notice was that the pits in the area began to bring in what were called mineral lines into the main line back into Edinburgh. And even when steam arrived, and what we would call normal rails, the mineral lines were changed over to the same system. Originally, the coal would be brought in on tubs attached to a wire, and eventually diesel pugs would bring the coal in, because many of the pits, although they were close to the railway, still had to bring the coal onto the railway before it could go into Edinburgh, or indeed, as time went on, down into the borders, into the mills down in the borders.
Well, it was just through the crofts. What I mean is actually, it wasn't just this mine's coal. There were 3 mines here that was sorted here. You know, you had the Lingerwood across the road. You had 1 mile and a quarter for here called East Houses. They had their own wee private railway that brought the coal into here. It was sorted here. Then it was moved from here right through the colliery, what they called the Croft, Dundercroft, right through onto the main line, which was the Waverley line. Me personally, I think that was the beginning of the end of this. They slowly diminished it. By that time, to let you understand what the coal board was planning at that time, to sink 2 brand new mines in Midlothian. One was in Bilson Glen, which was Lone Head. The other one was Monkton Hall, which was down towards Dander Hall. And they were going to close these mines anyway. And all the men for all these mines was going to finish up in 18 mines. And this diminished. It went down and down. What means the big employment here when this was at its best was 2,000 men. At the finish up, we're talking about 500 at the end. And these men, my father worked in this mine, for example. He got a choice either to go to one of the new mines or take redundancy. And with his age, he took redundancy. But the rest of the young men all went into the new mines, you know, and that was the end of this, really.
Our elder son, he had a serious accident when he was young, and he was in Peel Hospital for some time, and then they moved him up to the Sick Children's in Edinburgh. So it was very important because we didn't have a car at the time, and it was important that we managed to get up and visit him. I have to say that sometimes it was disappointing. I remember the provost of the town phoned me up and told me I was wasting my time, because he had already been down to Downing Street, you know, and or down to the House of Commons, really, to meet MPs down there and, you know, put Hoyk's case and the border case, really. But it was having no real effect. But I was speaking to folk in the town, and, you know, you felt folk were a bit frustrated, really, that they weren't having a say in this sort of thing. So that was the reason I started the petition, really. So I wasn't expecting to go Downing Street down to London, really. I thought, it would carry on and it would just bounce from our lap into the lap of authority, which it didn't do, of course. But however, when I started the petition, I found that the Hawick folk were very keen. It was sad the day that they blew up the bridge. It was a lovely old built, all the old stones, all the arches, over Mansfield Road, over the River Teviot, over Duke Street, a wonderfully built bridge. And then we had another single bridge in Bawtry Place, and we had a six-arch bridge at the other end going out of the town, and they blew them all up. Beautifully built bridges. And to me, a stupid thing to do. We could do with a railway now to bring in a lot of visitors, and if they put a steam train on between Galashiels and Newcastleton, that would have brought visitors from all over the world. So hopefully they will do something like that. It took 13 years to get it through the first time, so it has to, aim for a place first of all, and there's no reason why it shouldn't go a bit further, So it's up to the Hawick folk as well. If they want the railway back, it's up to them to fight for it.